Hello and welcome to PBCJ Presents, our weekly current affairs discussion series. It is here that we take a deep dive into issues affecting Jamaica land we love. I'm your host, Maya Chung. This episode, we look at the state of boxing in the nation. And joining me on that topic is the head of the Jamaica Boxing Board, Stephen Bomber Jones. Welcome, sir. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
You are more than welcome. All right, I want to jump right into it. Ding, ding, ding. What is the current state of boxing in Jamaica?
Okay, so current state. Now that COVID has passed, we've had a couple shows. The boxing board, first of all, sanctions both amateur and professional boxing. We've had, on the amateur level, we've had our gyms active, several of our gyms active, and we've had some of our national boxers represent us. We're not it being the Caribbean Championships, which was held in Damrep. We have had two other boxers that went to the World Boxing Championships recently. Didn't fare well there, but the experience was fantastic, you know.
Let me hold you right there. You mean all this time when we running up and down with COVID, we have resumed boxing to the level where we're doing championships and competitions?
So in fairness, the world resumed before we did.
Okay.
You know, so I think most of the first world countries, they started from before 2022 or in the beginning of 2022.
Wow.
We started back in the end, you know, the ending of the year, and the gyms like Sugar Gym, you know, he being in Olympic Gardens, you know, he has a safe space, a controlled environment. So while activity wasn't going on, he was very much involved with the kids in the area and
define that involvement.
So his involvement is being from 6 days a week at Kling Kling Oval, where the youth, boys and girls, can come daily to us using boxing as a platform. You know, he's part of the latest part of the Gloves Over Guns initiative that is spearheaded by the Boxing Board. And basically all that is a platform that we use for personal development, social support, community cohesion being the biggest thing, you know, but we use boxing as a platform to get to the children, get to the youth, and we say children, but it reaches all ages.
Let me ask you something. You've said two things, community cohesion. Define how you characterize that. What is that?
So, communities like Olympic Gardens, communities like Trenchtown, Denhamtown, Rockfort.
Is it politically incorrect to say bad areas?
More volatile areas is where we do target.
At risk.
At risk. Yeah.
Yes.
So at risk for me mostly means, you know,
susceptible to falling into bad activities as young people.
Yes, and I find that the guidance, you know, some of them, grateful for those where the parents are involved, but a lot of the children don't have both parents, you know, in the household. So idle time, read idle hands, and then they can go, you know, so we try and target those areas first. And if you don't have a governing body at home where it is that, you know, you can come and be, you know, have like a structure, then we try and create it in those communities. So this is what, for instance, the Gloves Over Guns initiative does, but once we show the platform and once we find that neighbors, guardians, parents see their children coming into these spaces, then they support. And that's where the community cohesion comes on board. And then it is, you know, you become a neighbor's keeper, a brother's keeper, a sister's keeper.
Very biblical. What is Gloves Over Guns?
A big part of the umbrella that community cohesion falls under.
What does it mean?
So the community cohesion.
And what is it? No.
The
Gloves Over Guns. Yeah.
Okay. That's just our moniker that we use. Basically, you know, the mandate of the Boxing Board, first and foremost, was to expand the footprint of the sport of boxing island-wide. Over the years, while we've been doing that through different national championships, through the Contender Series, through different shows that have been here, going into communities, we've seen the impact that it's had on youth and the impact that it's had on those that are not even involved in the sport directly, but involved from
the audience,
the audience and their family members, their guardians, you know, and everybody gets involved. It becomes a village, right? Bringing the sport into these communities, it ends up being a village where they're raising not just the children, not just the boys and girls, but then the elite boxers, the elderly,
the persons who paved the way.
Paved the way. They now come out and they come to the shows and they support and they.
And Gloves Over Guns is actually turning you towards sports to prevent them from turning to crime. It's an actual program. Mm-hmm. It's something that has characteristics like, do the young people sign up? Do you recruit them?
So they recruit themselves really, and we do, right? We find that at the end of every show, every community, we have at least 20 names of people that want to get involved. Now the boxing, actually, they gravitate towards the boxing. They come there first for the boxing, but they have to agree to be a part of the Gloves Over Guns program. You have to agree to counseling and mentorship, right? And that could be sometimes, you have different levels. That could be sometimes just a round table, sit down in a circle, before the activity starts, just having the boys and girls speak about the day, speak about the week, speak about challenges, and ask questions, and speak about school, and then give ideas on how they
give
can
them a voice.
And they use the voice.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, usually coming into the space, most of the children, they find they're looking on the feet. They're not looking in the eyes. After about 3 weeks, they see you, and they not only want you to watch
shoulders
them, then they come
back and
back
they're
and they're
meeting
up and
your
then they're
eye.
talking about
That's
when they're going
good.
to fight and when they're going to this and when can they represent. And that's because,
and when them can tell them friend to come and watch me represent.
And it's the friends, and so the friends, exactly. That's very, 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 that's a huge draw for them, surprisingly. They actually want to perform in front of their peers, in front of their family, in front of their,
That's setting a great precedent. How long has the Gloves Over Guns initiative been active in Jamaica?
So we are a branch of Fight for Peace International, right? In 2016, 2017, Fight for Peace International, that's based in Brazil. They have this concept. It's not, they have where they go into the favelas and they use the sport of boxing to do exactly what we're talking about, and then raise very disciplined, very structured individuals and build communities. So they agreed to have, for 3 years, funding for our coaches to come into communities. So we were in 6 inner city communities doing the same Fight for Peace. We did Fight for Peace Jamaica. And we were doing so well that we decided that if we wanted to make a big impact island-wide, we'd have to go into other communities. So we went into Olympic Gardens and went into Spanish Town and went to Montego Bay.
So what happened was an extension of Fight for Peace, but we named it our own thing.
Because Fight for Peace, they committed to 6 communities, funding 6
and they wanted
communities.
to stay there.
So they weren't taking on any other commitments. So we, going outside of those 6 communities, we still had the resources of going into the counseling sessions for Fight for Peace, having our coaches get into being taught how to deal with unattached children, not just the boxing. So we still use that platform, but we had to call it something else. So this were Gloves Over Guns, and then the Gloves Over Guns just started picking up traction, and it was growing and growing. And
it's still going on to this very day.
We are resuming again now. We had hit up with COVID, and so the activity stopped. So we didn't stop per se, even through COVID. No.
You were stopped.
The activity stopped.
The activity stopped.
The activities, the shows, and some of the gyms, our national gyms had to close down. But life still continues in the communities. The kids are still there. So coaches like Sugar, it's not just, he maintained relationships with the community members, and until we are back to this stage here now where we can.
Which is fantastic. What would Jamaicans be surprised to know would be happening going forward for the boxing community in Jamaica?
So separate from the Gloves Over Guns, we sanction, like I said, amateur and professional. So our professional level here recently has only been able to go as high as Jamaica. We had the very popular Contender series that ran for like 8 years, and then, but the thing that would happen after the Contender would be the boxers themselves. They fought 4 times to win the Contender, but then they say, what next? There was nowhere higher than that to go. So during that time, though, we were building relationships with promoters, the boxing board being a sanctioning body. We're not the promoters, we're a sanctioning body, so we had to build relationships to create a a platform, a journey for our boxers that got to a stage to sign with promoters overseas, if anything. Right? So we had a relationship with Tyler Buxton from United Promotions. He's taken a bunch of our Jamaican boxers. He actually helped us build content at the ending stage. You have Chris Joy from iFight Promotions, and you have Ronson. You have different promoters looking on Jamaica, but ultimately the WBA, which is one of the highest governing bodies, they've identified Jamaica as a hub for the sport for international fights. We just weren't in a position to take that on yet. They had us in 2012 have a world title fight where Nicholas Walters became the world champion. And they did that, that's the first time a Jamaican ever became a world champion at home. We couldn't put on a show like that without the assistance of WBA. But they did that for us to show us what they wanted from us. So we took that and we said, when the time comes, we will keep that in mind and know that
and
that's
that was way back in 2012 before we even knew or sniffed COVID-19.
Exactly.
So
we kept the relationship with the WBA. When COVID happened though, what we don't think we could do was continue to make sure that the relationships we had with the other administrators and high levels was strong. So the boxing federations in the Caribbean, we kept a close rein in terms of conversations. We had Zoom meetings once a month. The AIBA, which is our International Boxing Association, Jamaica has a very good relationship with them. They actually gave us equipment to.
During the COVID season, they still kept on giving equipment.
They sent us equipment in terms of knowing that we'd come back, so that they were big. They were very impressed with the Gloves Over Guns initiative. They have put it up on their website and everything, and so they sent equipment down for about 8 gyms, so we were able to spread it around a bit. And then the WBA, we were saying, okay, we now have talented boxers. That the idea was to go to the Olympics, then after the Olympics, transition our boxers to a stage where they could get to world champion. But COVID came, so the team that we thought would have gone to the Olympics, that didn't happen. We had one boxer that went to the Olympics, Big 12, and he's now in Canada. He's fought 7 times, he's 7-0. And so to answer your question, finally, what's coming is we want to have shows here where our boxers do not need to travel overseas to build a career anymore. They can do it from here.
Yes.
And the Jamaican public can journey with them from their first fight to the World Championship fight. So we're about to launch a series of fights where every 6 weeks, rotating through our communities, we'll be having pro-am fights with our boxers that are talented.
And for the uninitiated, pro-am is professional boxers and amateur boxers.
Yes. So it's easier, it's more cost effective for us to have pro-am fights. To have a totally full pro card would be too expensive, first of all. Unfortunately, Jamaica is one of the countries that sanction both. So we can have activity for the amateur boxers that would want to represent us nationally, in our national boxer and on the international level. And then 2 pro fights at least, sometimes 3, where the boxers that are talented enough can become the next McCallums and the Axman and the Burbics. Those guys were never ever. So those guys, we've had world champions like once every decade. We believe that with this program starting, it will take about 3 years to get a boxer from turning pro all the way to the title. And but once that happens, then we'll be turning over to champions year after year and having them fight here. So that's
groundbreaking.
Yeah, man. That's not just groundbreaking here. That platform has never been done in the Caribbean. All Caribbean boxers that have had champions have had to go.
We're not just breaking ground nationally, regionally.
Yeah, man.
As per usual, we're dominating.
Yeah, man. But we're welcoming, because it's not just Jamaican boxers. If the talented boxers in the Caribbean will be able to use this platform as well
as a springboard.
As a springboard. So we'll announce a calendar. I know that. Shows are happening every 6 weeks, and then it's not exclusive to any one promoter, and each promoter will put their boxer up and say, can I get on this card here? Because once they're on the card, it's sanctioned and it becomes recognized globally.
And we take a break now on PBCJ Presents. I'm your host, Maya Chung. We're coming to you from Sugar's Knockout Gym in Olympic Gardens. The topic is the state of boxing in Jamaica. My guest is Stephen Bowma-Jones. Stay with us. We have more when we come back.
Immerse yourself in the elegance and charm of the Courtly Hotel and Suites. Enjoy our jerk barbecue night by the poolside each Wednesday. Or celebrate your special events for your wedding, anniversary, birthday, or just a relaxing weekend getaway. Unique, personalized, inviting. The Courtly Hotel and Suites.
Welcome back. You're watching PBCJ Presents. I'm your host, Maya Chung. My guest is Stephen Bomber Jones, head of the Jamaica Boxing Board, and we're discussing the state of boxing and its resurgence in Jamaica. Stephen, before the break, we were looking at the fact that Jamaica has broken ground. We are now able to home grow future champions, basically. And Jamaica has a very noteworthy history in the sport because we've produced Berbick, we've produced McCallum. Where is this gonna go as we move forward out of 2023 and say in the next 2 years?
So you touched on Berbick and McCallum, and the last we had world champion, because that's the highest level they can get to, the WBA belt that Nicholas Walters got. So Jamaica obviously has the talent, you know, as we're doing at the sport. What we do now, where we're excited now, is the fact that we have at least 6 boxers at between the ages of 19, 23 that are at the stage to, one, try and make the Olympics, which is next year. And if you don't make the Olympics, then you can turn pro. You know, amateur and pro is 2 different things. So making the Olympics or not is, you know, the Olympics just gives you a better platform to launch from when you turn pro. But barring that, once you turn pro, we can now have a platform, right? Like Axman had to fight in Panama. He did his entire pro career there until we brought him here twice, in his title fight being here.
Right.
You know, Berbick and McCallum, they had to do it overseas. We've never had a situation where a boxer could build his career here from his first fight to a world championship fight.
And then just step onto the world stage. And not only that, we're doing it for the Caribbean.
We're doing it for the Caribbean. We're doing so basic. But so what we
how will that look?
what
how will that roll out?
What we've been used to in terms of we hear people asking, you know, you had the contender. The contender was a tournament series kind of thing. This is now actually just where we are not matching Jamaican boxers. We're not doing the best of our boxers to cannibalize them and have them fight each other. We want to have those that have the actual talent that could become world champion. We have them fight here, but then you have them fight overseas boxers that are, you know, you line them up with proper promoters, you know, and we have promoters overseas that are looking at Jamaican boxers, and then we have local promoters. Felipe Sanchez, who I know you know, he's actually very involved in the boxers at all levels, you know, from the grassroots boxers to the pro boxers. And I know, I think he has some boxers that he'd like to turn pro. So what he'd have to do is align himself with the matchmakers, find the proper fighters for his weight classes, and then give them a amount of activity here. So the boxers that we do know from the Caribbean, they actually are looking for platforms. So there are many boxers around the world who say, I mean, they just are not given the opportunity. We're creating a platform now where we have some very good, talented boxers, St. Vincent, Trinidad, you know, and Jamaica, that can turn pro and line them up with the promoters, and then we bring the fights here. So
what sparked my interest even further in boxing outside of our historically, you know, great performance is the YouTube upsurge of boxing. And it netted millions, and it was sponsored and endorsed by the ultimate of the ultimate boards and so on. And I thought to myself, wow, it really clicked me back on, and I know a lot of things fell by the wayside due to COVID, and I'm saying, what's going on? And then I started to check in. So I'm thinking, if you're looking at a YouTube set of persons who do not fight for a living, pro and they're doing this, they're making money. It's not just about keeping people motivated and out of trouble. it's building careers, it's building communities, it's bringing economic activities, because when you have the tournaments, people can come and sell. And this is a resurgence coming off of the back end of a lot of fallout in different sectors that COVID-19 caused. How is corporate Jamaica and or the Caribbean responding to this future forward as it relates to now we are contenders?
So
yeah,
I think exactly what you tapped into, corporate Jamaica, they have to be privy to what's going on as well. So you have boxing at all levels. You have underground boxing. You have the YouTube ones. Those that can capture it, they can everywhere, right? And a lot of our boxers come from the fight clubs. In all these communities, they have it. You know, boxing. You know, we gravitate towards it, male and female. You know, but the challenge is fighting underground boxing. It does nothing for you besides just make you popular in the community, but then you can't build a career really with it unless you're sanctioned fights. So what we have to do is we formalize them. You know, so the corporate.
So that's an intention to formalize the fight clubs.
So the intention is to have the fight clubs understand that sanctioned events are being taken place,
and they're better,
and they know are asking questions of how they can become a part. So we go into certain communities, like I'm mentioning. We recently went into Rockford community. We saw very, very some driven individuals that see exactly what underground fighting is doing for the communities. And their conversations with me, which I hear many, is that when these shows are going on, their shows, there's no crime, right? And this is, like I say, I bring up Rockford because that was the last one.
Like keeping a dance.
So exactly, you know, so that's exactly, you know, so basically, they invited me in, showed me a space, you know, so we spoke about how we can get it formalized. I saw those interested in the sport. The talent that we have there, which we have talent everywhere. And so once they can get into it, if they, for instance, we're not at the Rockfort or here in Olympic Gardens, you know what I mean? We want to be able to have invitationals. We'd love to be able to have a Rockfort invitational where the Olympic Gardens, team from Olympic Gardens can go there.
And we can break away some of this divisiveness. I have to tell you thank you for being my guest on PBCJ Presents. It has been very enlightening, and I'm looking forward to hopefully PBCJ doing some streaming of some of these events because we're a streaming station. My guest on PBCJ Presents has been Stephen Bowman-Jones, head of the Jamaica Boxing Board. The topic has been the state of boxing in the nation post-COVID-19. You have been watching PBCJ Presents. I have been your host, Maya Chung. Remember to follow us on our socials at PBCJamaica. Stay tuned for more programming on this station.
Since we've been doing these community shows, a lot of it is high school children coming in. A lot of the kids coming after school programs are all in schools, and we've been having principals come to us now. So after COVID, one of the prevailing trends, I thought, which is surprising, we've gotten calls where several principals have said to us that the conflict resolution has become an issue since they've come back face to face. Right? They're seeing, especially with girls, they're seeing that there are a lot of children fighting in schools, right? Since they had to return, you know, I mean, for things that and they're surprised that the children are fighting. It's like their fuse has been short.